You will never drain the swamp in Washington until you impose term limits on Congress. You just have to do it. And, you know, people say, oh, you can't do that because then all the lobbyists have more power. Jack Abramoff was the disgraced lobbyist, went to jail. He said the thing he feared most was term limits as a lobbyist because it made his job much more difficult. So don't let anyone tell you that somehow term limits would be bad for that. That's just incumbents trying to protect themselves and perpetuate themselves in office. And so Florida was the first state to certify an amendment to the Constitution under Article 5 to impose term limits on Congress. Alabama has followed. Other states are now following. And here's the thing. If you can get some more states in line, and as governor, I'm going to help lead, since I'm already a leader in the term limits movement, to try to get these states on board. You start building momentum on this thing, the American people are with us on it. I mean, that's just the reality. It's 80% issue, and I've looked at, you know, I've looked at polling in every which way. Black, white, male, female, Democrat, Independent, Republican, every single group. I don't know that, other than like maybe K Street and like, you know, the Congress, like every other group supports term limits. So we can get it done, but you got to be willing to lead. And obviously, I think I'm the only candidate running for governor on either side of the aisle who supports term limits for Congress. I mean, it's just crazy that you wouldn't be one to do this. So it's a chance to lead. It's a chance to get momentum throughout the country. And boy, if you end up getting 15, 20 states to start certifying this thing, the people in Congress and in Washington, they're going to start really, really getting worried. And they'll see that the American people are coming for them.
All right. All right, so we keep up with the president a good amount. We all, you know, Ron and Jim and I, we call the president, he calls us. I want you to share your funniest Trump conversation on the phone that you think you can. That you think you could share, Jim. But no, I think one of mine was he called me one morning and said, Matt, this is your favorite president. And I said, Reagan? He did not laugh. He did not laugh.
Yeah, I typically don't share. I mean, I feel privileged that I've been able to communicate with the president a lot and talk with him a lot and try to help him because I think he's on doing the right things. So I typically don't, but the one thing I will say, and many of you probably had the chance to visit with him, but if you haven't, if he were here, you would love the guy. You can tell he loves our military.
They do love him.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, in a personal way, you'd love him even more because you can tell he loves our military. He loves our law enforcement and the work that they do, the sacrifice. He loves hardworking. You know, Ron talked about. He made me think of a quote. Or Hershiser, a guy who used to pitch for the Dodgers, took him to the World Series. He had a great line. He said, "Great things can happen to ordinary people who work hard and never give up. Great things can happen to ordinary people who work hard and never give up." My favorite word in this statement is the word ordinary. You think about it, we're all just regular, ordinary folk. Nobody's any better than anybody else. All need God's grace. But in this country, ordinary people can do extraordinary things if they're willing to work hard and never quit. President Trump, the president understands that and he appreciates that. He appreciates folks like you who are working hard, regular, hardworking American families. And that's the thing. It comes across every time you talk with him. The other thing I'll mention is when you talk to him, you always laugh. Every single time you're on, there's always something funny he says. And it's, to me, it's just refreshing. The fight he has, the intensity he has, and the love he has for the greatest nation in history comes through every single time I get a chance to interact with him. And I wish every single American could have that same experience. I know you practically won't work that way, but I wish it could because he's that kind of guy. And I'm proud to be fighting with him on so many issues, and I know these two guys are doing the same darn thing.
I mean, the thing that I think that you can't really appreciate until you're able to interact a little bit is, you know, I mentioned like they've spent $15-some million attacking me. You know, you run for office, you get hit pieces in the media, all this stuff. That just kind of comes with the territory, particularly, you know, as a Republican. But this guy faces like everything I've ever faced, like since I've been in politics, like combined, that's like his afternoon that he faces in terms of all the hell and fury that gets rained down on him. He's got the entire press corps in Washington, D.C., the New York Times, Washington Post, they're all against him, not just negative. They want him out of office. You know, the network, CNN has basically become, they've dedicated their entire network to bashing him day after day after day. So he's got Fox, and he's got, you know, some talk radio, and really not much else of people that are giving him cover. And so negative. I think you guys have seen the thing. It's like 90-some% of his press coverage has been negative. Obama's was like 65% positive at this point in his presidency. You know, that's just so you see that. But so in spite of that all, they attack his family, everything. You know, he just runs with it. I mean, and it's really impressive to see somebody who's willing to just take all that abuse day after day after day, but then just keep swinging and keep fighting. And obviously, he's willing to punch back. You know, people talk about this tweet or that tweet, and sometimes he does what he's got to do on that. And tweeting is not for me. I just don't do it. But I mean, it is what it is. But I just think the amount of abuse, which, you know, Reagan took a lot of abuse, but I think this is far and above anything that Reagan had to face. And so I just respect that because he's still digging in, working really hard on a lot of the issues that we all care about. And that's not an easy thing to do.
And you know, when Ron and I were with the president on Air Force One, they got these boxes of M&Ms that have Trump's signature on them. And so I thought, well, and they said, oh, well, you can have one, Congressman. I thought, one? Yeah. So I went all over the plane and scooped up all the M&Ms that I could. And then I was stuffing them all into my bag. And I started to realize, they're going to realize there are no M&Ms left on this entire plane. And so when he wasn't looking, I took about half of them and put them in Ron's bag. Because I thought that if we were like going to get searched going out, I didn't want to be in the brig by myself. And so Ron gets home and opens his bag and says, "Madam, you are such a good friend." "You are welcome, buddy, anytime. But now you know why you found all those M&Ms. But look, we're 11 days from this election, and there are a lot of people who go after our president who want to see the president's Warriors lose. They want to see, you know, they don't want to see Jim Jordan become speaker because they know Jim will change things in that town. They don't want to see Ron become governor because the president has put his political capital on the line because he believes in Ron. A lot of folks want to see me lose this upcoming primary because all over the country, because they think, well, if we can take Matt Gaetz out, if we can keep him from being on television, then it'll be harder for the president to make his case to the country. And so I'm coming back here, as I always have in my political career, and I'm asking for your vote in Navarre. You guys have been there for me. You've carried me to victory before, and in 11 days, I'm going to ask you to do it one more time. Yeah. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
We're going to hang out, shake some hands, take some pictures.
Matt, it's good to see you.
Good to see you. Honored to be here, man.
Ah.
Hey, James.